the way the Bucs draft now is for value. They're drafting because their roster is so good, like the Eagles do, like the Ravens do, like the Rams do, these top-of-the-line franchises who understand you stack positions, you just take best player available, and you go from there.
It's also a lesson for everyone who really wants to jump the gun and consider quarterbacks bust in year 1 and year 2. It took Baker a minute, but he's found it now. And don't be surprised if, as Tampa maybe starts winning this year, this guy gets talked about if he has that kind of season he had a year ago.
But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are true presence, right? They have a true threat in the NFC, and it's because it starts with their quarterback, Baker Mayfield.
History was made at Raymond James Stadium in January of 2025 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave the Washington Commanders their first playoff win in 2 decades. It wasn't the end to the up and down 2024 season that anyone associated with the Bucs had anticipated, losing out to a younger, pluckier side in such dramatic fashion. And now for the second year in a row, Tampa Bay was abandoned by its offensive coordinator, but this time around, they're even better equipped to handle this blow. With savvy roster management from one of the league's longest tenured GMs and a team culture that keeps the Bucs winning with the same core of players over and over again, 2025 could actually be their year. And because of that is exactly why the Tampa Bay Bucs are so deadly. Now for starters, we're going to begin basically where the Bucs were at their strongest in 2024 and should remain their strongest heading into 2025, and it's on the offensive side of the ball. Tampa Bay was the only team to rank top 5 in total yards, rushing yards, passing yards, and points scored per game, so it's going to be fair to call them an offensive juggernaut. 4th round selection Bucky Irving enjoyed a breakout rookie season with over 1,500 total yards and 8 touchdowns. As always, Mike Evans was a reliable receiver as always, hitting 1,000 yards for the 11th straight season as well. Meanwhile, their 3rd round pick in Jalen McMillan came up big in the absence of Chris Godwin due to an ankle injury, as the rookie caught 7 touchdowns in the last 5 games of the season, which went a long way in helping Tampa Bay finish out strong and win the NFC South. The Baker Mayfield career renaissance also continued with an even better sophomore season in Tampa Bay with 41 passing touchdowns on over 4,500 passing yards. Ball security was a bit of an issue for Baker though. He did lead the league with his 13 fumbles and 16 interceptions, but that's also part of his high-risk, high-reward playstyle, which was maximized by offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. The defensive side of the ball, though, that was kind of just a completely different story for the Bucs. While the Bucs have had one of the best interior defensive lines in the NFL thanks to Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey, they lacked help off the edge without a single player approaching double-digit sacks. The linebacker room led by veteran Levante David was solid, however the secondary wasn't able to keep up and match the high standard of play elsewhere on the unit. Injuries to Antonio Whitfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead, and Jamel Dean left the pass defense fairly weak, and teams were eager to exploit this. And this discrepancy became pretty obvious on the stat sheet as well, as the Bucs ranked 29th in passing yards allowed, but just 5th in rushing yards allowed. In weeks 5 through 8, Tampa Bay was the highest scoring team in the league and still went 1-3, which is just a truly atrocious stat. And that's the thing too, in the playoffs, everybody got to see that on display as well. The Washington Commanders only averaged 2.5 yards per carry in the wildcard round, yet still managed to outpossess the Bucs by 12 minutes, keeping their high-powered offense off the field, which proved costly for Tampa Bay in a narrow 23-20 loss. And truthfully, that's just not good enough for a Todd Bowles defense. On the bright side of that though, it made it fairly obvious of what they needed in the offseason. They needed edge rushers and help in the secondary. And well, that was easier said than done because everything changed once the offseason actually got underway. Much has been made of offensive coordinator Liam Cohen's departure to Jacksonville, which is understandable as he had the Tampa Bay offense running like a well-oiled machine. Unfortunately, this is the second consecutive season that Tampa Bay has lost its offensive coordinator to a head coaching job, with Dave Canellis also taking the job in Carolina ahead of the 2024 season. Cohen was swiftly replaced by the Bucs' 2024 passing game coordinator Josh Grizzard, who actually worked his way up in the NFL coaching ladder in Miami. According to Todd Bowles, he was instrumental in our game planning and play design over the last year, which suggests sustained success for this offense. Since his appointment to as the offensive coordinator, the former Yale Bulldog has confirmed that the offense will operate out of the same system as they had in 2024, retaining all of the verbiage and tendencies with quote-unquote new wrinkles according to the Bucs website. He was also consulted as a third down specialist in 2024, and it probably won't come as just a surprise that Tampa Bay had a 50.9% third down conversion rate, which was the best in the NFL. And basically, it's just another way that this front office is ensuring that they keep things good going in 2025. And speaking of the front office, that's probably the franchise's biggest strength, is just their institutional stability that they've had over the years. Jason Licht has been calling the shots since 2014, making him the 7th longest serving GM in the NFL. He helped end a 13-year-long playoff drought with a Super Bowl win in 2020 and has kept the team competitive ever since, winning 4 straight division titles in the process. However, as that is good news, they haven't been past the divisional round since they had Tom Brady on this team in 2020. But don't worry, Bucs fans, because there is some good news, as this front office has been putting in mad work this offseason and trying to get Todd Bowles and just the entire team as much help as they could during the offseason. One of the ways that Light has kept the wins rolling in Tampa Bay has been the shrewd strategy of signing free agents to one-year trials before tying them to the team for years to come. Left guard Ben Bredeson is a prime example, as he came from the Giants in 2024 on a one-year contract, started all 17 games, and was rewarded with a 3-year, $22 million extension. Another offensive lineman and tackle, Charlie Heck, was signed to a one-year deal this offseason with a similar intent, offering depth to a unit which lost backup center Robert Hainsley and tackle Justin School. Their biggest swing in free agency, though, came on the other side of the ball at one of their biggest positions of need. Linebacker Hassan Reddick joined the Jets on a one-year, $14 million deal in the hopes that he can add some much-needed sacks to the Bucs defense. And yes, although he only logged 1 in New York, Reddick totaled 50.5 sacks for 3 different teams between 2020 and 2023. If he can prove 2024 was just a one-off bad year, the Bucs will have gone a long way in resolving one of the weakest parts of their team. Reddick was a major factor in the Eagles reaching Super Bowl 57 and could be a huge asset for the Bucs as a reliable veteran postseason performer. Another player who could easily fill that role too is Bucs legend Lavonte David, returning for his 14th season in Tampa Bay. Last year, David was still one of Tampa Bay's most reliable defensive playmakers, as he led the team with 122 tackles. And don't worry, because he wasn't the only Buck vet that got paid this offseason, with Chris Godwin locked down for the foreseeable future on a 3-year, $66 million extension. That kind of money for a receiver of Godwin's caliber is pretty much unheard of, which is a testament not just to Jason Light's business savviness, but also to the team culture in Tampa Bay that has kept the likes of Godwin, David, Evans, and more tied to the franchise for their entire careers. The consistency also just in the personnel on the offensive side of the ball is going to help with the coaching transition that they're about to go through, as well with the offensive coordinators. And I think it's even more critical too, considering all of the new young blood that they added through the draft this year, which I gotta say, it's pretty exciting on who they added. But as we all know, one thing that's even more exciting is betting on football, which I can't wait to do this NFL season. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we gear up for another banger of an NFL season, which I am so excited for, I have got you guys covered, and we have partnered with a full-time sportsbook and casino all in one. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about MyBookie. Now, as we all know, right now is the perfect time to get ahead of the curve as college football kicks off August 23rd, and MyBookie's got national championship and Heisman odds already live. Lock in your picks early before the lines start moving. Personally, for me, I'm going to be putting money on Sam Levitt to possibly win the Heisman this year. I am an ASU alum. Hopefully, they're ranked number 11, so hopefully we can see them do something this year. I've seen this story before where they're ranked very high and then they fall off a cliff. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, but I'm going to put money on Sam Levitt using MyBookie this year. And the best part too is that if you're brand new, you get a little extra juice. Sign up with my promo code KRICH, drop in $100, and MyBookie adds $50 free. So go bigger and get more for your money here. The action's already heating up, the odds are already moving, and this season's shaping up to be a good one already. You don't want to miss it, so bet big anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And again, thank you to MyBookie for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into it. With the 19th overall pick, they selected wide receiver Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, and sorting out the defense clearly needed to be the top priority in this draft, so this pick came as something of a bit of a surprise to everyone. But looking at the bigger picture, taking their wide receiver of the future with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin approaching the twilight of their careers is definitely still a solid move. Both guys missed significant time last year through injury, so the end may be nearer than many of the Gulf Coast would like to admit, and Egbuka had a solid run at Ohio State and was instrumental in their national championship run in 2024. And yes, although he was selected in the first round, the dude never had any diva in him while at Ohio State. He played behind the likes of Garrett Wilson, JSN, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., and even Jeremiah Smith in college, yet he remained an integral part of the Buckeyes' success through it all. And I mean, that's to say that if there was one wide receiver equipped with the maturity, mindset, and quality to contribute immediately to this loaded Bucs receiving room, it's gonna be Egbuka. I fully expect to see him in the slot most of the time this year, giving opposing defenses even more to worry about when they face the Buccaneers. Then on day 2, Tampa Bay finally answered the major questions lingering around their defense, where at 53rd overall, Light took Benjamin Morris out of Notre Dame, who was viewed as a first-round talent before a hip injury cut his 2024 season short. Morrison's father played alongside Todd Bowles in Washington, which makes this move appear like even more of a culture fit. He had 9 picks across his first 2 seasons in South Bend and was a promising sign, and if he heals well after his hip surgery, he has arguably the highest ceiling of any pure corner in this year's draft. They then went back into the cornerback pool in the 3rd round, this time taking Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Parrish was a 3-year starter in college and makes up for being slightly undersized with his blazing 4.35 speed, and unlike Morris, he carries little to no injury concerns and could slot right in as a starting nickel in this Tampa Bay secondary. Light then stuck with the defensive side of the ball in rounds 4 and 5, first taking edge rusher David Walker out of Central Arkansas, who has all the tappings of an FCS gem. Walker's lower body power and ruthlessness at the line should see him get plenty of time off the field for the Bucs, where he stands to benefit from a monstrous interior defensive line. It's going to be the similar story for the 5th round pick in edge rusher Elijah Robert out of SMU, who doesn't have the same type of power as Walker and may need to lean on the unit around him even more if he wants to replicate his college production. Lastly then, in the 7th, Light doubled up on his wide receivers, taking Tez Johnson, who was generally seen as a 5th round caliber talent. He did have a bit of a poor showing at the combine and failed to dissuade concerns around his frame, but don't get it twisted, Tez Johnson can contribute still to this offense. He's been a high volume target everywhere he's played, moves much quicker than his 4.5 40 dime suggests, and is joining one of the most pass happy offenses in the NFL. Even if he's low on the depth chart, history would suggest that he should see some time on the field, as Bucs writer Jenna Lane noted, during Grizzards' last 2 years with the Miami Dolphins, the Dolphins ran 4 wide receiver sets at the 3rd highest rate in the league at 54 plays, and more than any other team on 3rd down, specifically at 43 plays, which certainly bodes well for Egbuka and Johnson. So now that we've basically covered all of the Bucs offseason moves this year to try and improve their offense and more importantly their defense, how does any of this help them or just bring them closer to trying to get deeper playoff runs or even a Super Bowl run if we want to say that? And well, to put it simply, they took care of one of the biggest holes on their roster. Morrison and Parrish may take time to adjust in their rookie seasons, but at best, both could slot in perfectly to the starting lineup and rectify Tampa Bay's biggest weakness. Hell, if Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were able to do it last year in Philly, why can't they do it in Tampa Bay? And yes, while they haven't had an elite edge rusher for the time being, it's worth keeping an eye on the class of disgruntled pass rushers that have either reached stalemates with or requested trades away from their respective franchises. Everything still points to this offense remaining a top 5 unit with continuity in scheme and personnel, not to mention a couple of exciting new additions. Baker's going to keep throwing bombs to prove to the front office that he deserves a new contract, and I think that if Mayfield can cut out some of the turnovers, he'll catapult himself into the MVP conversation even possibly. Like seriously, his passing numbers were that good last season. So truthfully, as long as the defense actually improves, or at least is no longer a liability when the season kicks off, Tampa Bay will no doubt take advantage of a weaker division and win their 5th consecutive NFC South title. And who knows, once they reach the playoffs, it will be on the defense to actually get off the field and play some complementary football. In 2024, only Tampa Bay's offense could go toe-to-toe with anyone, whereas in 2025, they have an entire team that has seen enough improvement across the board to actually be competitive come January. And who knows, if they get it going at the right time, then who is actually going to stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their quest for Lombardi number 3?